Okay. So here's the character in the composition, trying to use the whole page, so it has the idea of using the thirds. If you divide the paper into thirds, not folding it, but just visually, so I'm just trying to put the head of the character in this one spot for that section. And initially started doing the shape that had the egg character in there. Found the nose, the cheeks, because the cheeks would probably be the same location. But just like with the previous character of the dog, the snout of this guy comes out a little bit further, so it kind of builds itself up from there. So I can kind of set that section in there. Everything else, as I start to look at the character, starts to build itself up. So a center line down this snout will keep this left and right division of the section of his nose. And he has these kind of specks for the whiskers coming out. And the same idea, if you think of this as a globe idea, then right where those intersections are, I could put some of those. It looks mechanical, but it'll give the idea of the perspective, at least understanding, and then anything that I add to that will also enhance that shape. I could have changed the expression, but again, here's the oval shapes for the eyes. I have the image in here, so I'm trying to put some extra highlighting in there, reflected light. So I'll just kind of put one heavy line in there to show that section there, so that gives me that initial piece to it. He has a kind of a frown and these kind of bags under the eyes, so that's just an echo shape, kind of repeating that part going across, and this furrow down the front. So some of the details kind of build up from that side of it, and it'll start to help with the nose as far as putting that snout in there. Same idea with the nose. It's kind of a little pixelated, but when you take a look at it, it has the round part for the nostril, brings itself up and around, and this also gives it a little bit of a highlight. So as you start to illustrate it, here's the part with the contour line, kind of thin and thick, and then the idea with the shading on top of it. So those are kind of like key marks in the drawing, almost like a landmark. Here's the highlight reflected, and he does have this frown, so the furrow, at least the eye coming down, gives the furrow of the brow, and that starts the curve around the top. Now you don't have to make yours angry or that, but I'm just kind of showing it apart from it. And the eyebrow is kind of the same idea, echoes that shape coming around, and then the furrows into the head there, so it kind of builds that up. So it's pretty quickly put together. The side of his head is still a solid geometric shape, but then the contour line has the hair coming around it, so that softens it up. And again, this is a thick and a thin line. Trying to build that up. Comes all the way around, gets a little bit of a floral up at the top. And then it kind of tapers on the other side, so you can kind of see the overall shape of this pretty good. When it gets down into the mouth, it has this corner of the mouth blended around, brings it up and around here, and the teeth, kind of a conical shape, so thinking of it that way, building that up. Still, it was kind of laid out a little bit ahead of time, so here's the lower lip, kind of thinking of it like a three-dimensional chord going around, and goes back to this part. Some of this you may not see all of it, but there's the round piece to it. And then you have the teeth coming down from here. And if they come out a little different, stick them out a little bit. This still wraps around. And the tongue is just kind of two shapes, but it's actually a dimensional section in there. So that gives me that section. So for the face, not too bad, kind of sketched out. And then for the ear, you want to still think of this as a cylindrical shape. So here's a cylinder up in here, and here's the inside part. So this is the section that you see off the edge, this dimension. It's kind of quickly drawn in here, so there's the dimension of it, there's the thickness of it, and now you can see it has a little bit of a proportion to it. Same on the other side, it's just tilted, so there's the cylinder, and this also just kind of comes in a little bit. And the softer edges of the hair just kind of extenuate that piece. Now that's just the head, so when you start to do the body, you want to think of the hands like we've been drawing, and think of the body. So I have him kind of flying in midair. So I want to kind of give him a, if you can see this, kind of like a cylindrical shape for the body, a little circular sphere for the pelvis, and then the legs coming out. And the feet are treated almost like the hands. Here's the palm of the hand, and here's the fingers. Just doesn't have the thumb, but that's the beginning part of it. And thinking of it as cylindrical shapes for the body itself. And I might have a shirt. And I did have his arm going straight back. So when you see that, it was trying to build the hand up and just have one hand coming up to the front. So here's the wrist. Here's the circular part for the hand. The glove is just bent over. So all the practice you're getting, this is going to put this into this section. So that's the palm of the hand for the thumb. And it becomes a little more dramatic as it wraps itself around there. And I'm going to give him some claws, so just kind of this cylindrical piece coming off at the top. And again, just using the same things. If there's kind of fur on there, wrapping this around, looking for the heavier baseline to build this up. Let the claw go in front of the finger there. And it builds this entirely up from scratch there. So that's kind of just started, hasn't been shaded in yet. And then the idea of either having the arm come forward or stay back, so I did both, just to see what it looks like. So I might go with, here's another cylindrical shape where the arm's coming out of the jersey. Here's the palm of the hand. It wraps itself around. And the thumb just kind of giving a little bit more dramatic bend to it, kind of gives a little more of a gesture to it. And here again, here's the claw for it. So the nice idea is you do it lightly, you can change it and see what's going to be the best design for your character as you come across for that piece. So there's the hands, kind of a little bit of the body curving around. Here's the legs. And then as I get to the feet, I'm going to try to, I haven't really had you draw anything, but it's the same idea. Here's three pieces. When you take a look at a bare paw, kind of bring up some reference off of the internet, but just to show you, at least to get it started here. There's the piece. So this is a cylindrical shape. You want to think of the body, so I'm just putting some lines in there. Here's just putting three circles right there to represent that paw. So this part I'm going to change a little bit as I look up some stuff for reference on that. And then once you have that situated, you're pretty good to go, and just start to continue looking for the baseline, kind of looking for the reflected cast shadows, all the 6-tone value scale, the base tone. Here's the contour line. And now I have that section. If it's going to be in motion, these pieces can be blended off on the side there. And if I look at the base, just like the isometric, I'll do it as a second base or so. Here's the isometric kind of sketch. And that's the part that I have just to get started. If I change this to home plate, I'll just change the whole design. But that gives me that section. So once it's placed in there, I'll come back and touch it up with a little bit of the shading in the background to it. Okay? So see how you do on that.